Welcome to Dose of Depth podcast. I'm your host, Deborah Lukovich, and I invite you to explore what's beneath the surface of all sorts of things, including your own life. Through conversation, stories, and education, you'll see what you couldn't see before, find new meaning in old events, and even discover a new sense of purpose out there in the world. Let's get started. Happy New Year! Happy 2025! And welcome to Season 4 of Dose of Depth podcast. I can hardly believe it. Over 100 episodes of interesting conversations and sharing stories and reading from my book and my blog. And thank you so much for listening and for supporting me. So, this first episode is me reading a blog I wrote on December 28th, 2024, as I was reflecting about this threshold from the ending of one year and the beginning of a new year, the space in between. I was actually listening to one of my favorite spiritual teachers, Bernard Beckwith. And he said this thing, and on my blog post, you'll see I have an image. And he said, religion is not truth. Truth is hidden in the world's religions. And I thought we can apply this to ourselves. So the title of this blog post is Hidden Truths. What new insight from 2024 will you integrate into 2025? So let's get started. Can you feel it? Can you sense the threshold between the old year and the new one right around the corner? It's like a doorway between who you are and who you're becoming. Having hopes and dreams can feel exciting and terrifying at the same time. Sometimes we have a picture of who we want to become or how we want to do a better job at something or just be a better person. To become a better version of yourself, an old aspect must die or be shed, like a snake sheds its skin. Maybe it's a limiting belief or attachment to an anxious emotional state. The freed up energy can be focused on whatever it is about yourself you want to improve. The neuroscience and psychospiritual processes behind disrupting old patterns and replacing them with new ones is quite complex. This is why self-compassion is important. The process of disrupting old patterns and starting new ones is generally messy and imperfect. Shedding a limiting belief or relationship can feel liberating and disconcerting simultaneously. We can feel stuck in the doorway between the certainty of what we don't want anymore and the fear of not knowing what we are becoming or what to replace it with. What we're fearing is the anticipation of having to make difficult choices in order to fully become what we're being called to become. What happens when you don't know what wants to emerge from you, when you don't know what you want to become? What happens when everything that used to fulfill you doesn't anymore? When you're bored with the stagnant systems that now feel like they're imprisoning you when before they unleashed you? What happens when you now can see the truth of a situation that you couldn't before? Your matrix moment. In these situations, we must harness a deeper source of wisdom that is connected to what transcends us. The stronger our relationship with our deeper self, the stronger the bridge to the ultimate source, what some call God, the quantum realm, nature, the collective, the cosmos. The stronger our inner moral authority, the easier it is to resist mass-minded ideas and dogmatic versions of any system, religious or economic system. These systems are meant to keep you in check rather than strengthen your own relationship with Source and your deeper source of wisdom. During my midlife unraveling and reconstruction, I found myself swept up in an ironic and passionate romance that brought to the surface inner divisions that needed to be reconciled. That story is in my coming memoir, When Sex Meets God. Stay tuned. Suddenly, I felt mysterious and deep inner shifts that unchained me from the prison of false beliefs about myself. At the same time, I grew more and more anxious at not knowing where I was being led, what was emerging from me. My protective mind was weakened, though, in favor of growing trust in the universe, creative intelligence, speaking through my deeper self. I have been blessed to experience a handful of glimpses into eternity, moments of truth, I call them. But one of them was during the listening of Amy Grant's Christmas song, Breath of Heaven. I sobbed and sobbed as I related to the lyrics where Mary wonders why she has been entrusted to carry the Son of God. The sobs were an indication of a deep inner shift. My entire body experienced a deep knowing that what was growing inside me was a new purpose that was not based on my ego's need for validation. I was receiving inspiration, learning to allow creative intelligence to flow through me, to use me as a vessel in order to contribute, to put something out into the world that was unique to my human experience and helpful to others. That was a moment of truth that my unfolding life was deeply meaningful. In my blog post, I do offer a link to the YouTube version of this song, which includes the lyrics. It's really beautiful. The root of knowing is to relate. Simply knowing words does not mean you know or understand what those words mean. To know is to relate, which happens in the body. Right now is a great opportunity to look back at 2024 and reflect about new insights you have received and how to integrate those insights through changed behaviors and thinking in 2025. This does take courage because our mind doesn't like new insights that require new thinking and behaviors. But the world needs your new insights now more than ever. Something new is trying to emerge from the collective unconscious. New ideas that will lead to new systems about how to be human in a way that is less destructive and more loving and collaborative. Change always bubbles up from the bottom. So if you're waiting for people smarter than you or with more power, you're slowing down the process of consciousness raising. That is the light at the end of this tunnel of chaos tinged with darkness. Try this. Perhaps you don't know where to begin. Step 1. Start by listening to your inner dialogue and notice that almost all your thoughts are negative and repetitive. Of the approximately 60,000 thoughts a day that science says we have, about 75% of them are negative and 95% of them are repetitive. Think about that. How many of your thoughts are you aware of? Maybe 200? So 59,000 are below your consciousness. But do not judge. Just notice them and let them pass. Then begin to change them up to thoughts that are more empowering. Some of my clients draw a big T chart on a piece of paper. When you notice yourself having a negative or unhelpful thought, write it down on the left side and then rewrite it as something more empowering on the right side. Next time you have the negative thought, just look at the new thought. What you're doing is weakening the neural groove of the disempowering thought and making a new neural connection and strengthening it by repeating the new, more empowering thought. It's just a simple but really powerful technique that you can use to shift up your thinking. Step 2, notice your emotions over the course of a day. Science says we have about 200 emotional experiences per day. Rarely is it just one emotion we're feeling. Remember, most of your life is driven and influenced by unconscious forces. So when your mind says you're feeling anger, that's just part of the story. Beneath the anger are memories of suffering that are very old and coming back to haunt you. You can use the same T-chart to document the emotion you're feeling and note what was going on in the day and right before the emotion you were experiencing. Emotions arise spontaneously and cannot be controlled, but feelings are how we find meaning in the emotion. On the right side of your T-chart, explore your automatic assumptions about the emotion. Then decide what emotional state you would rather experience and imagine a time or remember a time when you felt that emotion. Your brain doesn't know the difference between what you imagine and what your reality is. So while you cannot control an emotion, you can slip into a new emotional state. And as you do this, you are deepening a new neural connection while weakening the old disempowered one. Step 3, journal your reflections about the first 2 activities. If you're willing to take the time to try steps 1 and 2, I guarantee you will gain some new insights about yourself that will lead to more clarity about what to do next to continue growing into an even better version of yourself. Step 4, learn the language of your unconscious and build a new self-reflection practice. My book, Your Soul is Talking, Are You Listening?, is a great way to learn the basics about how your unconscious is always speaking to you and trying to get you to explore yourself more deeply. My 5-step process teaches you how to be a detective in your own life, identifying themes and patterns, finding metaphors and meaning in the symbols, gaining new insights, and then integrating those insights into your conscious life. In my blog post, I do offer a link to purchase my book, as well as to this podcast, where you can listen to me read all of the chapters for free. And also on my website, on the resources page, you can get a download of my 5-step process to working with your unconscious. If you're ready for the plunge into your unconscious, you can also schedule an exploratory chat with me to design a curriculum tailored for your needs. So I hope that got you thinking about insights you may have gained over the course of the last year and how you can use those insights and integrate them into your life in 2025 so that you can continue becoming who you want to become. So to a peacefully productive 2025. Thanks for listening. Take care. I'm your host, Deborah Lukovich, and you are listening to Dose of Depth podcast. To get updates on new episodes, my writing, and how I teach my clients to get to know that deeper part of themselves, go to deborahlukovich.com. Oh, and if you're not ready for a coach, learn what my clients know in my book, Your Soul is Talking, Are You Listening? 5 Steps to Uncovering Your Hidden Purpose. You can check it out on my website or get it on Amazon.